Gerald here with the second video recap. This one is covering the topics of the Genie Drill, object in motion stays in motion for the follower, as well as tassel for both stretch and compression. So from here, we talked about the slotted nature of West Coast swing and how the base physics of the dance works. So for the follower, since I don't have a partner, I'll demonstrate the rules individually. We did the Genie Drill where you put your arms up like a genie, the leader would push you, and then from here, whatever energy you got, you continued the energy until you were eventually brought to a complete stop. So some of the tips that I saw is that followers, you don't want to stop on first contact. Right? The leaders are typically going to make an initial contact and slowly ease you to a stop. You need to keep going at the pace that you are going until you are finally brought to a stop. Don't stop preemptively. Okay? For the leaders, like I said before, you want to make initial contact, and as the follower's moving, slowly bring them to a stop. Something I noticed in the class that I didn't get to address, unfortunately, is the length of the arm. So I noticed a lot of leaders, once you put your hand on the follower, you stopped moving and you allowed them to get too far ahead of you. So what you want to do, although you do want to emulate that stretch, you need to move a bit slower, but allow yourself to still have an arch in your arm while you're bringing her to a stop. So that was one that I missed in the class, something to remember. Next we're going to talk about tassel. So tassel is the acronym for how we create stretch in our dance. The stretch is the #1 thing in West Coast swing. It's what gives us the elastic look, as well as it generates all of our momentum in the dance. So the acronym I used was tension, anchor, stretch, lead. Okay, we're going to start off with tension using the door here as an example. So tension by definition, right, is the suspension of energy between two objects. So I want you to think of two poles and then a line between them. If you were to cut that line, the line would just drop. So flexion, right, is when you hold up your own arms using the flexion of the muscles, right? We're not doing that, we're engaging the muscles by distance or tension. So the first drill to get tension that I want you to do is you would take your partner's hand, take a step away to get tension, and then just let go and allow them to drop. Right? From here we had the anchor. The anchor is the step that brings you to rest. Right? It's an anchor, or it's a step that's slightly back. So after you have tension, you're going to step back. Remember, rolling through that foot to ground yourself as well and to anchor yourself. Right? This will increase the tension by about 1 pound in the connection. The last one was the stretch, the most integral part. So from here, after we have tension and we've stretched, right, you want to think of pulling your spine, your entire spine, so that's head, shoulders, all the way down to the hips, away from your arm. What this is going to do is that this is going to increase the amount of tension, again, between both partnerships. Essentially, you are loading the slingshot. Remember, West Coast swing is like a slingshot. Leader is the handle, follower is the rock, arms are the elastic. So at this point, if you were to fire the slingshot, it would fall straight down, so you need to wind it up, increase the torque. The last part is the lead. So we talked about the slingshot once again. If you were to fire the rock, the entire rock would fire. It's physically impossible for just pieces of the rock to fire, right? So whether you're a leader or a follower, when I stretch away, and I'll demo the door in a second, but each of your core balance points needs to move, or in the lead section, which is the head, wrist, hips, and foot, all need to move together to communicate the lead. Same thing for the follows. Right? The head, shoulders, wrist, and feet all need to move together, right? Nothing moves independently. If it does happen, you get some breakages. Most commonly for followers and leaders is the shoulder, right? Where we stretch, and then the shoulder goes, and then the body goes. It's going to get you injured. Leaders, we talked about rectal leaders, right? Don't want any of that either. Where the hips go, and then everything else goes. Don't want any of that. And then the super creepy ones with the followers going forward with the hips, and all that nastiness, don't do it. It's bad. Okay? So, there's a little bit of a visual, and I can only do this for leaders, unfortunately, because I only have a door. But we have our tension, anchor, stretch, and then lead. Open the door. We also talked about compression using the exact same acronym. So the idea is with compression, there's a lot more versatility because stretch is optimized in the solar plexus area of the body between the belly button and the chest, whereas compression can happen anywhere. It can happen up high, down low. It doesn't even have to use the arms. You can lean against each other and have compression. So with this, I recommend practicing the same drill, but you can do it up here, to the side, down by the hip area, whatever works for you. But it's the exact same idea where tension is held because you are pitched forward slightly towards your partner. If you were to move away, the arm would drop. So tension in the compression is established. You anchor by going forward and slightly sinking down into that foot. This will increase the pressure. From here, sending your spine or all your core balance points forward towards the hand. Notice how the coordinates of the hand did not move. This is super important to increase the tension between the hands. And then the last part is the same idea. The lead, for the leaders, you're going forward, whereas the followers from here, all the core balance points are going backwards. Now, within the context of the dance, you always want to compress down by the hip area, the solar plexus area. However, it's possible for many other different points.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.